Welcome to Unit 2 of Word. During this unit, what we're going to focus on is creating research papers and then learning how to create references and citing our sources. This is definitely something you're going to access and utilize a lot in high school and even more so if you go on to college. So the first thing that I want to make sure you're doing is you can see that I've got student notes pulled up, and you need to have a copy of those sitting in front of you. There are 10 questions which we're going to answer throughout this video, and you'll need to write those answers down. You do not have to write word for word what I have, but you do have to get the main idea. That's what I'm looking for when I grade this. The other thing you're going to need to do is open up a Word document that's blank, because you're going to create the exact same thing that I'm creating. We're going to do a research paper together. You'll save that and turn that in for points as well. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our very first question. What is a research paper? It's a document used to communicate the results of research findings. So throughout your academic and probably your career, you're going to need to do research. And if you are in a position where you need to formally communicate those results that you discovered while doing the research, then you'd want to put it into a research paper. So when preparing a research paper, you need to follow standard documentation that defines the rules for how the paper should be written and then how you cite your sources. When you are in classes where you're writing a research paper, whether it's high school or college, they grade you based off of the way that you've set up the paper. There are a variety of documentation styles, and the one we're going to focus on is the MLA, but there's also the other big popular one is the APA. So if you're ever asked to do an APA paper, you will have to get specifics either from your instructor or from there's several websites that you can use that can help you identify how those types of papers are set up. We're going to do, as I said, MLA when we do our research paper, and we're going to write a paper that discusses biometric devices and follows the MLA documentation style. Each page will contain a page number and all of the various sources that go along with that. So let's go ahead and actually talk about, well, what does MLA documentation require? So when you write a research paper that's MLA style, you need to have 12-point Times New Roman font. This is not a time for you to get pretty. You need to have double-spaced text, 1-inch margins on left, right, top, and bottom. You need to indent the first word of every paragraph 0.5 inches. On each page, you need to have a page number which is preceded with your last name. There is no title page. Instead, you put your name and course information in block style format at the left margin. You center your title one double-spaced line below your name and course information. You will use in-text parenthetical references, which means if you are sharing an idea that you found elsewhere, rather than waiting to the bottom of the page or the end of the document, you'll just cite it within that text. So right after you say it, you'll cite it. And then you list all the references that were used in your research on a works cited page, and that's what we title it. All right, so let's go ahead and I think we're ready to go ahead and start with our document. First thing I want to make sure I show you that I think I've already shown you before is this show hide. We're going to go ahead and turn it on, and we're going to that tells us when we're entering and spacing and all that good stuff, which becomes important as you're doing these assignments. Now the first thing we need to do is we notice that we're set up Calibri 11, all right? And you'll also notice that we have a style set up that's normal. So normal for Word is Calibri font 11 point. And that is not what we need. We need, from what I just told you guys, 12-point Times New Roman. So we can actually modify our styles. There are various styles that you can do, and when you start using these styles, it's just things that that Word has set up that are kind of normal, or something that you might want to utilize, and we'll find them to be helpful. So we want to go ahead and keep our normal, but we want to modify the normal style for this particular document to look a certain way. So we're going to say modify, and we're going to go ahead and leave it normal, but we're going to see down here on where it says Calibri 11, we're going to change that to Times New Roman 12. And then we're going to make sure that we have only in this document, because we do not want to do this for all documents. So make sure that's clicked, and then click OK. Now our normal style is 12 Times New Roman. Okay, so I want to go back and discuss line spacing and paragraph spacing, because we're going to need to set that up. Line spacing is the amount of vertical space between lines of text. So look at all these lines of text. That space in between, that's your line spacing, right? Paragraph spacing, on the other hand, would be the amount of space between, above and below, I should say, above and below a paragraph. Word automatically inserts 8 points of blank space after each paragraph, and 1.08 lines of space between lines. What we know about space, white space on the paper, is that it helps calm your eyes down. So you want to be very intentional about where you place your white space, because it helps your eyes know what to focus on. So when we were doing flyers, we always wanted to make sure that we had space so that when our viewers looked at it, they sort of knew where to focus their attention, right? So we'll be needing to make sure that we follow the rules for MLA style. So let's go back over here, change our spacing. Under Home tab, under Paragraph, I click this box and I go to 2.0. Then I click this box again and I can remove space after paragraphs. And so now it's going to be more succinctly spaced. Now I want to be sure that not just this paragraph is double spaced with no spaces after the paragraph, but that all of my paragraphs are. So I'm going to right-click Normal, and I'm going to say Update Normal to match my selection. So what I've just done, let's update that. So we're going to click that, and now it's set up so that the entire paper will be that way. So you want to get this stuff set up in advance. All right, so the very first thing we need to do is to set up a header and a footer. So what is the difference between a header and a footer? A header is a text of graphics that print at the top of each page, and a footer is text or graphics that are at the bottom of each page. So let's go to our document. Let's insert a header. When we click on our Add a Header arrow, we can scroll down to Edit Header. Then we can go to our Home tab and we can right align. So here's left, which is automatic, center, and right align. Sometimes people want to push this one for right align. That's actually not. That's justified, which means it distributes your text evenly between the margins. That's not what we want to do. So we've got our right align, and it's time to enter your last name. I'm going to enter student name, but you'll want to actually put in your last name. And you'll notice after I typed, or after you type your last name, you should enter a space. And then we can click on the Design tab. And then all the way over here under Header and Footer, you can click on Page Number, and you can click on Current Position, because where we've got our cursor placed, which is right over here, is where we want to put in a page number. So we'll go ahead and hit Current Position. And we can just do a plain number. So then we can close our header. And now it's time to enter our course information. As I'm typing, you guys can pause when you need to get the information down on your paper. Okay, so I've gone ahead and typed in some stuff. You're going to put your first and last name right here. You're going to go ahead and put my name there and computer applications there. And then you'll put the day, the day, month, and year. So I've actually got a little bit behind. So, oh, you don't need the day, I'm sorry. So you can just put the month. So I should say date. So it would be January 20th, or 2016. So that's how you need to go ahead and put that. I'll go ahead and change that to date. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to enter our title. But I want to show you something. A lot of times what people might do is come up here, and I've taught you to do this, and you already knew it, most of you, and you just click center. But I want you to know that there's another thing that you can do. Every time we go up into this bar, we end up, I mean, it just takes a little more time. So you'll notice that if I move look at my cursor right now, see how there's an I, and look at right here to the right of the I, you can see that it has a left aligned symbol. So see this symbol right here? Notice where it's at. See there? Now as I move more towards the center of the document, you'll notice that it becomes the centered icon. So it's this picture right here. So once I'm there, I can just double click and it automatically centers for me. If you look up here, it already went to center. And all I did was double click when I was kind of in the area that I wanted to be in. If you were to come over here, you'll see that it should start right aligning. Well, we'll figure that out later. Okay, so we'll go ahead and type access granted. Hit enter, and then you can click back over here. Oops. And I accidentally put in a tab I didn't mean to. And then we'll start typing. Before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at some shortcuts because you may need to use them as you're moving along. So most of you already know what a shortcut is. These are, if you just push a couple, 2 to 3 keys at the same time, then it changes the formatting of whatever you're typing, and it's just a little less time consuming. Really common ones would be the Control button and B at the same time. So you press and hold Control and then tap B and you'll bold. Control I will italicize. Control E will center. Control L will left align. Control U will underline. Control 2 will double space. And Control 1 will single space. So these are ones that I will use quite often, so I wanted to make sure that you knew about them because they can make things just move a little faster. I do want to make sure that you know how to show rulers. Oops, let me get back over here. Under View, you'll notice that I've got a ruler up here that you're able to see on both sides. So I've got my horizontal and my vertical. If yours isn't showing, you need to go to View and click on Ruler. When you're typing research papers, you need to pay attention to where things are aligned. So that's going to be important for you to have up. Before we start typing, we are going to want the very first line of every paragraph that we type to be indented 1/2 inch. That is called first line indent. And if you put your cursor right over that top triangle, you will, usually it will say, mine's not doing it right now, but that's a first line indent, okay? So you want to go ahead and move that top triangle only. Be careful that you don't click the square or the bottom triangle. That's not what you're looking for. The bottom triangle is actually a hanging indent. So that is when you have the first line is all the way left aligned, so it's all the way over here at the left, and then all the subsequent lines are indented 1/2 inch. So your first line hangs over to the left. That's why it's called hanging indent. Okay, so let's go back to our, I think you need to know that. Yep, first line indent and hanging indent. The first line indent is when you want only to indent the first line of the paragraph. And that's the top triangle. The hanging indent is when you want the first line to be all the way over to the left side, and every other line is indented in the paragraph. And that is done by dragging the bottom triangle. So when you drag this bottom one over, you're actually getting the hanging indent. If you want to move the entire thing, so you just want to change the margin, you can actually click on the square, and that changes your entire margin. Okay? All right, so we want to go ahead and set it up so that when Word will know that we're starting a new paragraph because we'll hit enter, and every time we do, it'll automatically do a first line indent. So that's why we want to start and make sure we get that taken care of at the very beginning. It'll save us a lot of time down the road. All right, so now it's time to begin typing. So I've begun typing. Biometric devices authenticate a person's identity by verifying unique personal characteristics. These devices translate a biometric element, such as a fingerprint, into a digital code. And when we get to this spot, I want you to intentionally misspell that. So we're going to spell it T-A-H-T. And when we hit the space bar, you'll notice that it automatically changes. And then we can finish typing the sentence. Now I've typed some more, and as we noticed, you went back and saw that that was automatically changed. We can actually set up Word, and you'll be doing this later, so that it does autocorrect. We can add some things to the list. So I'm going to show you how to do that in case you constantly misspell something and you want it to catch that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to File, and then you want to click on Options, and then go to Proofing. And once you're in Proofing, you want to click on the autocorrect options. So we're going to actually say that when we're going to type the word computer but misspelled in replace. So C-O-M-P, oops, T-U-E-R. We want, if that is typed, we want to replace it with the proper word, which is computer. And then we're going to click on Add, so that becomes added to this list. You can see all these different words that are thrown in there, the misspellings, and then what it should be. So we're going to Add, and then click OK. And OK one more time. And so now it's time to go ahead and enter even more text. If the digital code in the computer matches the personal characteristic code, the computer grants access. Examples of biometric devices include fingerprint readers. Please make sure you misspell that, like I did, and face recognition systems. We'll go ahead and continue to type. So when I hit enter right here, and it automatically, I did not have to tab, it automatically indented. A fingerprint reader or scanner captures curves and indentations of a fingerprint. Organizations use fingerprint readers to secure doors, computers, and software. For example, a fingerprint reader can be set up to authenticate users before they can access a computer. And we're going to pause. I just did a space, and we're going to pause because at this point we're going to go ahead and insert a citation, but I need to go ahead and set you up. So the first step in inserting a citation is to be sure that the citations and sources will be formatted using the correct documentation. So the first thing we're going to do is click on References, and then we'll go to Bibliography Style, and you'll notice that it's APA, which is inappropriate for us. We want to go to MLA 7th edition. Click on that. Our next task is to insert a citation at the location of the insertion point. So here's where I've got my cursor. Well, actually, that's where I should have it. That's where my cursor should be, and we want to insert a citation. So let's go ahead and click on Insert Citation. And we're actually going to use both of these, but right now we're going to do Add a New Source. Now we have to choose the type of source that we used in this, and what we did was an article in a periodical. So, and you'll notice sometimes kids get lost in this. This scrolls up and down. Okay, so article in a periodical is what we used, and then some of our various titles changed in terms of like text boxes, what we could use. So let's go ahead and click on the author, and we're going to type in here, and this is how you would do it, the last name followed by first and then middle. So Rossi, comma, Marcel is the first name, Enrico is the middle name. Then we want to click on our title box. Understanding how to use fingerprint readers. We capitalized every word except for the word to. You need to do that as well. Then we can press the Tab key and type Digital Security Review as the title. And hit our Tab key again to go down to the year and type in 2014. Hit our Tab key again to type in the month August. All months are abbreviated except for May, June, and July, I believe. Yeah. So you want to go ahead and abbreviate your month, and then Tab 2 times to go down to Pages and type in period space page period. So there were no pages, and then tab again, and the reason there were no pages is because we got it from the web. Place a check mark in the Show All Bibliography fields. So you can go ahead and click here, and again you'll notice there's a scroll box so that you can go down. It talks about recommended fields, so depending on what you're putting in, it'll recommend what you have included, and you'll notice all of ours are we've got all of our recommended fields included. So we want to, okay, so we're going to go down here to year accessed, and we're going to type in 2014, as that's being the time when we actually looked at the article, and then tab, and the month that we accessed it was October, so capital O, and then again it's abbreviated. And then we'll tab one more time to say it was on the 3rd of October, so day 3. Then we can click OK. Okay. And then we've got it. Now you'll notice that it automatically inserted a citation. And you notice it grays out, so it's not something that I hand typed in. I will check that, so you want to make sure that you aren't just typing it in. And then you hit the period. Okay. So it's time to go ahead and enter more text. So after our citation, I added another sentence. External fingerprint readers usually plug into a USB port, period, to save on desk space. Some laptops include built-in fingerprint readers. All right, so at this point, it might be a good idea for us to save. So we'll go to Save As. And I have a place where I save my things, so you guys can save yours. And we will want to save it. We want to save it as access granted assignment. And we'll notice that the word changes up there. All right, time for you to move back to taking a couple of notes. We're about to deal with a footnote, so let's, or an endnote, let's figure out which one. A footnote is a note at the bottom of the page referencing something in the paper, whereas an endnote is a note that's just at the end of the text. So we've got our insertion point right here. And we want to, we're up in the References tab, we want to insert a footnote at this point. And you'll notice that we get a superscript 1 up here where we've got the note, and then also a superscript 1 down at the bottom. So a person reading along can say, oh, the author wanted to make a note about this statement, so I can find the number 1 below and read about that. And so now we'll type up the footnote. So you can see that I have inserted or typed up the footnote, which is at the bottom of the page. We would know it was an endnote if it was right up here, just following the text. So it's a footnote, and now we need to insert a citation placeholder. So just like we inserted this citation right here, we want to, just at the end of computer, we want to go ahead and insert citation, but we're going to add a placeholder. Sometimes you know you need to cite the source, but you don't have the information readily available. So you don't want to stop everything and try to round that up, so you can just put in a placeholder. So we're going to go ahead and do our placeholder as nadir. And then we will click OK. And then we'll put a period. So with my cursor just placed somewhere in this footnote, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go to Style, and I want to make sure that I've got all styles listed here, and I'm specifically wanting to look at my footnote text. So I am where I need to be, and I want to say that I want to modify it. It needs to be Times New Roman, but we know that it has to be 12. So I'm going to change my font number to 12. I'm going to click the double space button. This is 1.5. This is double spacing, so I'm going to double space. And then I'm going to go ahead and click the Format button. Then I'm going to go to Paragraph. And once I'm in Paragraph, I want to pay attention to this special indentation, and we want to do first line indentations. From there, I'm going to click OK and click OK again, and then we want to apply. So now you notice that it has changed. Now I want to click somewhere in my citation placeholder. I'm going to right click. And when I do that, and I said right click, I'm sorry, I meant you need to left click. So if you've got that, just left click and it'll go away. And you'll see this box pop up. If you click on the drop down box, you'll see some options, and what we want to click on is, we want to edit our source. Okay. So on the type of source, we want it to show that it was a book that we were getting the information from. So we'll click on book. Now this book has 2 authors, so we have to click the edit button. Where it says authors, we have to actually click the edit button, and then we have to type in the last, first, and middle name of the first person. So the first author's last name is Nadir. Their first name is Ayesha, and the middle name is Sati. And then we're going to click Add. The second one, last name is White. First name is Jonathan. And middle name is Richard. And then we're going to go ahead and click Add. So then we can click OK. And then we are going to go ahead and click on Title, and we'll type in the title of the book, which is Biometric Security. Pay attention to the B and the S, both are capitalized. Then we can tab down to the year the book was printed, which is 2014. Tab again to the city where it was printed, and it's Chicago. Again, the C is capitalized. Tab down to the publisher, and it's Windy City Press, all caps for the first letters. Windy City Press, capital W, capital C, capital P. Tab one more time, and how did we find this? We found it in print, capital P. And we can click OK. You'll notice that our nadir changed to Nadir and White, which is appropriate since those are the two authors that we had. And we're once again going to edit our source. So we want to, not edit our source, edit our citation. And we want to go ahead and add pages 62, 63. We want to click the author checkbox because we're going to suppress the author, and we're also going to suppress the title. So those won't show up, and we'll just say OK. And then you can see that it changes it just to the page numbers. Now it's time to enter some more text. So I put my cursor right after the number, the footnote number, and hit enter, so it automatically did a first line indentation, and I typed a face recognition system, captures a live face image, and compares it with a stored image to determine if the person is a legitimate user. Some buildings use face recognition systems to secure access to rooms. Law enforcement, surveillance systems, and airports use face recognition systems to protect the public. So often when you write papers, you're required to compose them with a certain number of words. And so you need to know that you've got down here on your status bar, if you click that left click that number, you can see that we're one page, 218 words, 1,244 characters. If you don't count spaces, even more if you do, 9 paragraphs and 22 lines. If necessary, place a check mark. We already have one, but if we didn't, we could place a check mark in this to include text boxes, footnotes, and endnotes. And then we can close it. So let's talk about automatic page breaks and hard page breaks. We're about to utilize an automatic one, and then later we'll be using a manual page break. So we'll get that information out there. Ooh. I'm gonna go forward. We're not gonna deal with Works Cited until a little bit later. So let's scroll down to 9 and take a look. So a manual page break is when the typist forces Word to start a new page, even if there's space remaining on the preceding page or the current page. Whereas in an automatic page break, Word automatically starts a new page because there's no more space. The nice thing about a manual page break is that Word never moves them. So if you're ever dealing with very large documents, then you may want to consider doing manual page breaks, because if you go back and add information later, or if you're doing a document that's going to, it's sort of a living, breathing document in that it's going to be changing, then manual page breaks will prevent you from having to go back. And when you go, I was one time working on a document that was a sort of a rules and procedures for a local preschool. So it was near 70 pages, and every year we would have to go through and edit it and make some adjustments and changes based on whatever was happening. So I might be on page 3 of this 70-page document, and I might make a few changes, and the person who created the document didn't understand hard or manual page breaks, so they didn't do anything. They just typed until Word automatically updated, and so that just meant everything got adjusted, and sometimes, you know, title pages weren't in the right spot or whatever. So that's when you might want to use a manual page break. All right, so let's go back. We've got to go ahead and finish up the third paragraph. So we are right here, and we're going to continue typing. So I went ahead and added some mobile devices use face recognition systems to unlock the device. And you'll notice what happens is I automatically jump down. Word did a automatic page break there and said, okay, it's time to move on to the next page. Now you'll notice what happened is as I was typing, it went ahead and allowed, I think it went ahead and allowed, oh, maybe not, okay. So sometimes there's a little bit of play there and it'll allow you to move some things around. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and finish up with this paragraph. I've gone ahead and added some more for our last paragraph. Face recognition systems are becoming more sophisticated and can recognize systems. I'm sorry, and can recognize people. Well, let me verify this. There we go, now we've got it right. Face recognition systems are becoming more sophisticated and can recognize people with or without glasses, hats, facial hair, makeup or jewelry, or with new hairstyles. After hairstyles, I pressed the space bar. I did not yet hit the period because we're going to click the Insert Citation and we're going to add a new placeholder and we're going to title it Alan Smith. And click OK, then type our period. Oh, and my cursor wasn't in the right spot, so I'm going to try that again. I don't know if you were in the right spot or not, so I'll try it one more time. Insert citation, and we've already got Alan Smith, so we can add that there and press our period. I want to show you how to hide white space. So when you're typing, there's all this space that's lost. You know, this is the bottom 1 inch of the page and this is the top 1 inch. So you can, if you double click when you get this arrow pointing to each other, you can delete that white space and then it makes it much easier for you to be able to just see what you're typing. If you get on that again and double click, left click, you can go back. So I like it. It's much easier to just put it together. So let's go ahead and type somewhere in our citation and go ahead and edit our source. And this time we're going to click on the type of source being a website. So we'll have to scroll down a little bit. We want to place a check mark and show all bibliography fields. So the author text box is going to be Alan Smith, Samantha, Claire. The name of the web page is Understanding Face Recognition Systems. Again, pay attention to what I'm capitalizing because you'll need to do the same. The production company is Course Technology. The year accessed is 2014. The month accessed is September, so you can tab or click. Remember to abbreviate. And then you can tab or click on the day accessed, and it was the 16th, so that means we got on it September 16th, 2014. And then if you tab one more time, nope, we'll need to tab more than that. Our medium is web, meaning we got it through the web, not in printed format. And we can click OK. Now our next task is to type the last paragraph of the text in the research paper. So I'm going to go ahead and place my cursor there at right at the end, right after the period, hit enter, and it automatically Does the first line indent? I've typed the last paragraph. Home and occupational users alike are using biometric security. Through a biometric element such as a fingerprint, devices can deny or grant access to programs, devices, computers, rooms, and other locations. Biometric devices are an effective security technology. It's time to go ahead and save. So we've already titled it. We can just click the Save key. And now it's time for us to create our Works Cited page. So let's go back and find out what a Works Cited page is. This is the final page of your research paper, which lists all of the sources that are referenced in your paper. To go ahead and set up our Works Cited page, we have to first insert a manual page break. The Works Cited page has to be on its very own page. So some people want to enter all the way down. The problem with that is that if you come back and change something, then it'll change the Works Cited page. So you don't want to do this, okay? Instead, you want to go to Insert, Page, and Page Break. And you'll notice that it automatically inserts. So I can come in here and I can type my little heart out if I wanted to. And it just keeps, it'll still keep the Works Cited on its own page at the top of its own page. Okay, so I could add, tons more to this page up here, and it won't change anything down here, which is exactly what I wanted. So we've added our Works Cited page. We've got it on its own page. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that our Works Cited page is appropriate. So we're going to make sure our insertion point is right here at the top left corner of the page. We want to go home and we want to click normal. Even if it's clicked, go ahead and click it again. Now when we Control E, we should be centered. And we can type Works Cited as the title, capitalizing W and C, and then we can enter, and Control L to left align. So now we can click on References. And with our insertion point right there where it is, we can click on the Bibliography button. And we should be able to scroll down and click on Insert Bibliography. And everybody pops up just the way that we have hoped that it would. Now you'll notice that we have hanging indents. So the first line is all the way left aligned, first line all the way left aligned, first line. But the subsequent lines are indented. If you click, you'll see that this hanging indent has been moved over. Word did it for us because it understood that we were doing a bibliography and it knows how bibliographies should be set up. But if you needed to do that yourself, that is how you would do, you would change your hanging indent. Okay, so now it's time for us to proofread and revise our paper. Let's go back. I think we're on our last question in your student notes. What should you consider when you're proofreading and revising a research paper? Does the title suggest the topic? Ours is access granted. Certainly goes along with biometrics and the systems that we're talking about. Is the thesis clear? Is the purpose of the paper clear? Does the paper have an introduction, body, and conclusion? Does each paragraph in the body relate back to the thesis? Is the conclusion effective? Are sources acknowledged correctly, and are all sources acknowledged? All right, so go back to access granted, and let's say that while we're proofreading the paper, we notice an error in the magazine title. Specifically, the first word, understanding, should be removed. So we're going to go ahead and click on Manage Sources. And we want to click on the source that we wish to edit, which in this case is going to be the article by Rossi. And then we're going to click Edit. And in the title text box, we're going to go ahead and just delete the word understanding. Then we can click OK. We can click Yes. It's fine that we want to update both lists. And then we can click Close. When you come back, now you'll notice that when we come here, it still has it in there. So depending on your settings, it may not change. So what you need to do is click somewhere in there, say Update Field, and then it'll update what you've most recently input. All right, so the next task in revising our paper is to modify the text on the second page of the document. So what we want to do is we actually want to go to the View tab. I want to show you something new. And we're going to put a check mark in the navigation pane. And then we're going to click on Pages, and you'll see that we've got our 3 pages. This is very handy. It's like basically like what you get in PowerPoints when you've got a 70-page paper, which down the road you never know, you might end up doing. Okay, so we want to click on the second page. Okay, so we're going to click on the second page. You see that it's highlighted. We're actually going to just play around with copy and paste. We're going to highlight copy. I'm sorry, we're going to highlight biometric. We're going to go home, and then we're going to copy that. And we actually feel like it would look good here to have it, and then we'll paste. Now when you paste, you can keep your formatting. You can just merge formatting, or you can keep text only. We'll go ahead and keep source formatting. It's important to kind of pay attention to that though. Now we want to go ahead and locate all the occurrences of the word element, and that's because we're contemplating changing the occurrence of this word to the word identifier. So we're going to stay in our navigation page, and we're going to go to results, and we're going to type in element. And we see that we have 2 results, and if we scroll down, there they are, they're highlighted. We decide to change all of the occurrences of element to identifier. So we're going to go home, where we are, and we're going to click on replace. And we're going to say find element and replace it with identifier. And then we want to click replace all. They made 2 replacements, which was appropriate, and so we say OK, and we close. So now we're in this 4th paragraph, and we are kind of looking at this word occupational, and we're just not sure that we like it, so we're wanting to see if there are any synonyms or words that are similar. So we're going to right-click over occupational, go to synonyms, and see what other options are there. We're going to go ahead and choose work-related. Now we can go ahead and click out of the navigation pane. We can go to review, and it's time for us to go ahead and spell check. And so we see that readers has been identified. So we click on the one that we want, and we can say change it. Nadir, we should ignore all times because that's appropriate, and say OK. There is one thing I want you to know. If there's a word like, we're going to use legitimate. So you're in a document and it's a Word document and you're not sure what something means, so maybe someone sent it to you. If you press and hold the Alt key and then click the word, then the definition will pop up over to the side. So it's a way for you to get a definition of what the word is replying to or referring to. If you want to look at all 3 pages, you can go to the View tab and click on Multiple Pages, and then you'll see all 3 in the window. You can also look at your read mode and make changes, change how you are looking at things. All right, at this point it's time to go ahead and save our work, and then you're ready to print this out and give it to me, as well as giving me your student notes. Enjoy this unit.